Hey, what's up? Big Earl, northtownsound. Eno. It's got in a boatload of Eno. Ooh, got some new stuff, some replacement stuff, power supply stuff, their new cables. Whoa, cables, stay there. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff. So, and I got some new pedals in here, like the flanger and stuff, that I'm going to show off and do reviews, but I want to take advantage of something, because I got a couple of pedals here, to explain something that's ticking me off big time. Like any of these videos, they're always about me being ticked off. That's compression. This is the new Eno TC81 comp. Nice transparent compressor. Really great. There's a million videos on YouTube explaining how to use compressors, and they only show one way of doing it. So I want to show the other way of doing it. So let's say you have a basic effects lineup like this. Most of the information that you're going to read about or hear about is going to tell you that the compressor should be somewhere towards the start of the chain. So maybe a tuner, then your compressor. The reason for that is that's what people who play SMAHUIs do, and TMAHUIs. They have compressors at the start of the chain. This is what I call the S version of how to use a compressor. There's your S. Why would you do that? Well, simple. What you're trying to do is to beef up these things so that they're full sounding, they drive the amp, they drive the effects. Basically, you're trying to improve the horrible sound of these things, my opinion. So everything will tell you to run the compressor at the start of the lineup. That's one way. Okay, the second way of using compression is what I call the H way. The H way. When you have humbuckers, you don't need to fatten these coils to drive your amp or to drive your effects. What you want a compressor for in this case is to allow you to push these effects higher, and especially if you're a noise guy like me, to control any sort of weird spikes that are happening in the effects chain. You control them with the compressor. Now, nobody likes talking about this. There was a thing on Tone Report where they were talking recently about pedal compressors, and they basically poo-pooed doing it like this. They were like, throw it in front. That's completely useless for this. This is what you want to do if you have humbuckers or similar pickups with very high output. And there's a good reason for that. Let's look at what should be happening in a recording studio. So, let's look at larger compressors. Okay, now this is my Ashley Graphic EQ compressor that I use recording. A little noisy, but you know, it's pretty good for the price, no complaints. When you're recording, if it's done properly, not the way a lot of these idiots in the compression war are doing it, you're using a compressor in the studio to control spikes and drops in your recorded signal. So if you have something that spikes up, you're bringing it down to a decent level. If you have something that's a little dull, it brings it back up. So if you have, you know, the classic example is if you have somebody who's not very steady as a drummer, like I am, what you want to do is you can use this to make sure those hits are at an even level instead of going quiet, even quiet, loud, quiet, even, quiet, loud. You're flattening the sonic spectrum, okay? So if that's what you do in a recording situation or in a live audio situation, using the compression to ensure that the level is even and not spiking loud and not spiking too quiet, why don't we do that with pedal compressors for guitar? It's pretty obvious. I'll give you some examples. Okay, so this is the first example. I really got to get some gear to shoot stuff. This is such a pain. Anyways, first example, we have the Q-Tron. If you got a Q-Tron, you know how much fun those are. You also know how maddening they are. It's what I call a phase of the moon pedal. You set everything up, you set up your rig, sounds great, shut everything off, come back the next day, it sounds completely different. And it usually sounds like ass. Phase of the moon. And my Murph's like that. It's just the characteristic of certain pedals. So what I've got here for the rig, I've got a compressor in front and a compressor at the end set the same. That's your S mode. That's your H mode. I'm currently playing Magpie with the H's. I am going to turn on the Q-Tron. Here we go. Now you can hear there's a huge boost in volume on that. I've got it on low pass. I have the resonance frequency fairly high up. A lot of drive. This is kind of where I like it. The only problem is obviously if you're playing that's going to hop out too much, right? Okay, so let's pretend that I'm on the S mode. Just realized I had that sensitivity a little different than this, got knocked over. So we're going to throw this one on. And so this would be at the start of your board. Wow! Wasn't that great? Again, this is your clean bypass. So you can hear the volume boost. That's not helping anything, okay? So, if we throw it at the end though, throw on the compressor. So it's controlling those peaks and valleys, like I was saying. It's a little duller. I don't know, I rarely play the Q-Tron clean, but it's controlling it. So again, we'll try it with our friend at the front. Then I hit a wrong chord at the end, but whatever. You get the idea. Oh yeah, I gotta get some shooting gear. Oh my gosh. Anyways, let's take a second example. Let's grab the memory boy. I've got the delay all the way up. I've got depth at around 1 o'clock. Blend is even. Vibrato mode. Feedback at noon. Again, the bypass. So this is going to be a noise delay. So if I hit the spikes, if I hit hard, you'll notice it's coming through. Maybe not the way I want to, maybe it is, I don't know, right? So let's start with the S-way. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go like this. So now you'll notice the compressed tones being overwhelmed by the vibrato on this thing. If we go with the H-way, so again, it's kind of overwhelming the straight guitar signal, but you're not getting those weird spikes on things. And that could be darn useful in a lot of situations. Let's ping pong back and forth between the two. You hear that? That's that self-oscillation all you 13-year-old guys like, okay? Under control, because you have a comp at the backside. Okay, I didn't say this was going to be pretty. Last example, my favorite example. We got some fuzz. We got the Eno BMF. What more do you want out of life, man? Clean. We got the BMF. Okay, so what would be the advantage of having compression with that, you might say? Well, let's do it this way. Let's go with the S way. So without. So it's adding some sustain to what's already got a lot of sustain to it. But what happens if we go the H way? You've got that bloom that happens at the end, which is awfully fun. You can hear the noise, but sometimes that's worth it, man. So, we'll try that again. Stooges? Sure. So if we have the compressor in the H mode, it really smoothens the attack, even more so than not having it on. In this mode, adds some sustain, but really doesn't do too much. Yeah, so compressors. That's the other way of doing it. So instead of at the front of the effects chain, at the back of the effects chain. Or if you wanna, if you're getting something that's good and low price like this, throw one at both. It'll work if you're running both S Mahuis and H-a-ma-dingles. I gotta start using that term, H-a-ma-dingles. This poor girl looks so much better with white pickups. Anyways, so yeah, there you go. I'm going to do a full review on these things without other effects so you get a feel for it, and the other stuff I got right quick. So, anyways, just another tip from the Fat Man. So, Big Earl, Northtown Sound. Later, man.